To order the March 8th, 2022 meeting of the Park and Recreation Commission. And our first topic is commissioner updates. And does anybody have an update?
No.
Nope.
I do not. I know that whatever board I got on has never met, so I've been pretty productive that way. All right, so we need to do the minutes.
Everybody seen the minutes?
Good.
Because that would be, one of you two has to make the motion. And
Yeah,
the other has to second
I
it.
will move that we accept the minutes from the February Park and Rec meeting.
And I will second that.
All right, all in favor, Aaron,
Yes.
Saul,
Yes.
and I'm yes as well. So the minutes are approved. And we can now move on to the request for support of the CPC request. Does Mike have input on that? Alicia, or is that?
Not that I am aware of, but
Okay.
this is something that it's pretty standard. So we do have to, every 5 to 7 years, create a new open space and recreation plan. So our time is up that we need to start creating that. So Marin from the planning office put in a request on behalf of Parks and Recreation and Conservation to pay for a open space and recreation plan out of CPC. So this is a pretty common use for CPC funds. And like I said, this allows us access to grants from the state to have this done. And it also creates goals and things that we can look forward to when we do our strategic plans. So it is a very important plan to have. Anything else?
I was just running through it.
Yeah, go ahead. Take your time.
So who this will run through the planning board or through, who looks at the bids, or because it goes out for bid and then you get a bid and follow up. So where is that organized through?
Yeah, so there is an open space and recreation plan committee. So Aaron is our representative of that. So they will have to start meeting soon to determine all of those things. So get ready for that, Aaron. Yeah, so it's always gone through them, and then they will develop what that report is with whomever gets the bid over, usually it's 6 months to a year. Last time it took us way longer than that. So hopefully this year it will not be as cumbersome as it has been in the past.
Okay.
All right, and what you need from us is us supporting this plan. And I'm assuming we need a vote on it.
Yes, please.
Okay.
And I would say that I'll make a motion that we accept the requested support for the CPC funding.
I will second that.
All right, all in favor, Aaron,
Yes.
Saul,
Yes.
and I'm yes as well. So
Kevin's here too.
Oh,
Did
sorry.
he come in?
Well, he isn't on. All right, there he is. Kevin.
I am. I'm yes too.
All right. We're good. All right. So the motion is approved.
7.
All right. Now we go to the beach rates, and you'll have to forgive me. Where did I know we looked at these. Where did we leave off? Just so we were going to have the full discussion.
Correct. So I went back, and as you'll see on the next slide, I changed the rates around a little bit as per the request of the board to redo this schedule all the way through individual couples and seniors. So I took that information based on our increases and kind of massaged the numbers around to where they best fit with the increase for all. The other piece was Fred had asked to see kind of on one Excel sheet what our neighboring towns look like. So I have that as well. So just to give everybody a refresher, we are at 6125 currently for a resident or a non-resident family pass. And that covers anyone living under the roof. There's no limit. Our individual rate is $25.50, resident, non-resident respectively. Same thing, $40.75 for couples. Seniors are $10.25 and senior couples are $15.30. So that is what we have been at since we last changed the rates 3 summers ago. So we would have gone through, we would have gone through 2 full summers since our last update. And those, coincided with both of our summers where we were also working with COVID restrictions as well. I'm just going to stop sharing this screen real quick as Commissioner Fred requested. Can you guys see this Excel sheet right now?
Yep.
Okay, so our neighboring towns, what we have currently is Acton, as we stated, it's Mrpa Park, which is a man-made pond, if you will. They are at 200, 105, 135, 25 for seniors. They're at $6 per person, up to $24 a day for residents. Non-residents are 250, 135, 175, 40. Non-resident costs are $8 for children under 11 and $10 for people over 11, up to a cost of $45 per day. There is no parking fee incurred. Devon's, which is Mirror Lake, a resident family is $99 for the season, up to 4 people. Individuals are $45. There's no option for resident couple or seniors. Resident day rates are $5 for children under the age of 10, and $7 for adults over the age of 10 or 11, if you will, on weekdays, and $6 and $9 on the weekends. There is no non-resident option. There's only a day rate. Same thing is 5 and 7 or 6 and 9 based off of weekdays or weekends. There is an added fee for holidays as well. Westford has Forge and Edwards Pond. They are free to residents. Non-residents have the option of buying a $75 pass for up to 5 people. If you have over 5 people, you're just required to buy another $75 pass or pay the day rate of $5 per person per day. Harvard, which is Kevin's Pond, Bear Hill over there, they have free access to the beach for everyone. However, there is a $50 parking fee that can be purchased by families, individuals, couples, or senior residents. Go down to $25. Residents are free. Everyone else is prohibited from using the town beach. And then that leaves us with us. Currently, we are at $60 per resident family, $25 for resident individuals, $40 for couples, $10 for seniors, and $4 a day per person. Our non-resident rates are $125, $50, $75, $25, and $5 per day. So that's kind of the rundown. Our closest comparable beach is the one at the top, which is Mrpa Park. They also happen to be the closest to us in proximity. As far as people, choosing whether to go to Mrpa or come to here. The other piece that we have is we have a natural body of water versus a man-made body of water, and our swim area is much larger, and our facilities are pretty comparable. They have a better concession stand and indoor area, while I would say our outdoor facilities are more updated and a little nicer to hang out in for the day, especially our swimming area. Any questions before I put this Excel sheet away?
No, thank you for doing that, Tim.
No problem. So to just to kind of, if you went outside the bigger scope of not neighboring towns, both us and Mrpa Park kind of, we're on the low end, Mrpa Park's on the high end. So somewhere in the middle is where most towns are outside of our neighboring bodies of water. With that statement made, and with what everybody has seen, the recommendations that we had discussed last time are in this yellow box. So the 4 options that we had kicked around in the past 2 meetings were to raise rates to $100 for residents and $150 for non-resident families. And that would leave an unrestricted access on that particular group of no cap. Second option was to raise rates to $75 for residents and leave rates at $125 for non-residents and put a family cap of 6 people. And each additional member would be required to pay $15 over the household cap of 6. We also did the same option at $75 for residents, raising the out-of-town resident rate to $150, putting the cap at 4 people, and keeping the extra member for $15. And then we also talked about, the other idea was get rid of the family rate and only charge individual rates. So based off of what I would say a majority of the beaches are doing in the state of Massachusetts, including, saltwater beaches, the family pass is something that's pretty typical, even in pools. So I would not recommend the 4th option. What we have put forth based off of our needs as far as minimum wage increasing, the cost of some other things going up as far as just, what we utilize and our expenses going up. The middle ground based on the exercise that we went through is if we raise the resident rate to $85, the non-resident family rate to $150. So that's a $25 bump for both categories. Put the cap at 5 persons per household, and then charge an additional $10 for each member to include sitters or grandparents outside of the household. That was kind of where, based off of everything I've looked at, it seemed like that would be middle of the road and also meet the needs that we're requiring to fund the beach for this year. That would also, taken out across the grid, individuals would bump to 30 for a resident individual, 50 for a non-resident. Couples would bump to 50 for residents, 95 for non-residents. Seniors would go up to $15, 25 for non-residents. Senior couples would be at 25 for residents, 40 for non-residents. And the additional parking sticker rate, just due to our limited parking, we had discussed moving to $20 for an extra sticker for a non-resident member. So that would just be if you wanted to bring 2 cars instead of 1. That was brought up by one of you guys in one of the past meetings. Day pass rates would pretty much stay the same. My suggestion for this was we do charge a parking fee. So with that parking fee, as well as how many people typically fit in the car, that puts us in line with the either $5 to $7 rates for walking, and the daily caps that you see at Mrpa. We're a little higher there, but with our limited parking, the parking is definitely something that's required. Otherwise, we just would have too many people parking. It deters people from coming because we do have that fee structure. So with that, I will turn it over for questions, comments, and hopefully a vote on approval of these rates for the 2020 Long Lake Beach season.
Hey, Tim, I'll just add in that we are in Harvard are going through this exercise right now and looking at raising rates. So, I know our rates seemed a little low there, but I'm going through this with the Parks Commission in Harvard, trying to raise the rates. And we also even, there was a comment last night on the Harvard Parks and Recs meeting that they wanted to triple the additional parking sticker because we're in the same boat where we have very limited parking, and apparently families are, getting a sticker for their nanny or, caregiver and taking 2 or 3 cars down to the pond. So to try to stop that, we're trying to, make it so that you're going to pay if you want that extra sticker. So, the rates that you showed are a little, I think will be going up for this summer.
Is there a cap on how many parking stickers a family can have?
There's not currently, but you can make one.
Should there be one?
I mean, I think 2 is reasonable. The thing you run into, Aaron, is, most of the time you might have one parent coming from somewhere else, so 2 cars. The other thing that we get is people, put them on their mopeds or their motorcycles. That's where you kind of run into the issue. So I would say max of 3, but I couldn't really see anything outside of that. If you're talking 2 parents and a sitter, that's 3.
I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess how many multi-car, I mean, other than 2s, which I'm sure lots of people do we see people getting 3, 4 stickers?
Only on occasions where there is one purchased for the parents and the sitter, or the parents and the grandparent.
Yeah.
We saw during COVID, we were extremely lenient on some of our past structures.
Household.
And that's right, exactly. And because grandparents were footing a large part of the childcare, that's why I suggest that we kind of keep that. It was a nice thing that we adapted to. So in those instances, we do have that, 3rd request a lot of times because they are bringing the grandkids over and they do have a separate vehicle.
I mean, as long as you're comfortable with it.
I mean, on a very, very, very rare occasions, do we have parking issues? I can count on less than one hand how many times we've had to deal with it, and this will be my 5th summer.
Do we want to address the number of parking stickers while we're addressing the pricing, or do we want to just work through the pricing and then sort of come to a consensus on the number of stickers allowed and sort of separately?
Yeah, I would say work through the pricing and then.
Okay.
I think from what I've heard so far, I don't see a reason to limit the stickers unless there's, a real problem. So.
That's fair. So does anybody have any comment on where they're inclined to move with the pricing?
I think either, option 2, it looks like, or, the option in red where it's the 85, 150 or the 75, 125. I mean, I think those seem like reasonable increases. And, I assume that, so Tim, did you say if you were going to push it up to the 85, where it's red there, the 85, 150, the other ones below would just sort of stay at those rates?
So essentially what you have is in the yellow box is what has been kicked around in the past 3 meetings. What you see to the left of the yellow box is what I made my suggestion on for this year, which is kind of a hybrid of some of that. So we, rather the original request for resident family was to pick a rate somewhere between $75 and $100. Originally, we weren't going to move the 150, the 125 number, but I did bump that to 150 after our conversation in the last meeting. So that's kind of a hybrid of what a couple of these are.
Yep.
The other
Okay.
thing that we need to figure out is what, if any, do you want to cap? My suggestion was 5 people is a reasonable cap based on what other places that charge for a household is. So you guys can look at setting that number as well. Much more important of a number to set than the parking pass number. And then over that number, what do you want to set that individual rate at for if you have a family pass? So you're not spending $30 for another individual. What do you want? So those are really the things that we're taking under consideration. These other numbers, individual, couple, and senior, are all kind of based off of, you know, the percent increase with that 85 and the 150 number,
Sure.
just to kind of take them out over the rest of the grid.
Okay. Yeah,
So
I'm
that's-
inclined to sort of like support that hybrid model that Tim just discussed.
Yeah, I think I'd lean that way too. I mean, we don't want to go up to $100 because that's sort of when you get to 3 figures, people start
Mhm.
thinking about it. God, I can't do the math today. So
At $85 for 5 people, you're at $17 per person for the summer rent, if that's what you're looking at.
no, I was sort of trying to figure out if we had X number of people coming, but that's fine.
And Tim, you have a model that kind of figures out, has an estimate of how many people are coming and where this puts us on budget with staffing and.
Yeah, so I just gave my staffing numbers to Alicia today. So if everything plays out as it has for the past 4 years, with the increase in minimum wage, we'll be looking at about $87,000 to $90,000 worth of wages out, and we'll be looking at about 102 if we're lucky in revenue in. So we should squeak by with about $2,000 after other expenses in profit this summer if we put this in play.
Based on the 85, 150.
Right. That's assuming that we have the same sales and this doesn't hurt. We don't see a huge decrease in the number of passes sold, which I don't think we will, because Mrpa Park made this jump 2 years ago and nobody balked. They had the same numbers as they did. So I mean, Alicia's gonna, just to kind of let you guys in on the other part of it, you know, Alicia's gonna go over this. A lot of the towns are going to $18 for lifeguards this summer. DCR went to 21 and 22 with $1,000 signing bonus. So that's what we're fighting right now in order to get staff. And, you know, the reality is right now we're just trying to combat minimum wage. Next summer, we might be looking at even a bigger problem. So, you know, making these changes on rates becomes that much more critical in order to even, you know, come out even at the end of the year when you're talking about those kind of increases.
Well, what do you guys think?
what was our additional, did we, the amount for an additional person before, Tim?
It never was. It was
wasn't?
it was $60 and you could bring as many people as you wanted.
Oh, that's right.
That you
All right.
claim that lived under your household.
Yes.
So, I mean, in a way, I'd be inclined to support the hybrid, but why not make it 15 for each additional member? It's still less than the per member cost. So the marginal cost is less, but it provides and however many of those you sell, a little additional revenue.
I like that.
My original number was 15, Fred. I came down to 10. Just so you know.
Yeah, well,
I agree with you.
I seem to remember some of these things, but I'm just looking at it. I mean, if somebody's going, wow, it's $17 a person. Now I get the sixth person for a little bit less.
Right. Originally on the very first slide, you're correct. It was a cap of 6 with additional at 15. So that's also another thing that we could go to.
Leave it. I mean, I hate to ask this.
I guess I would say going the other, leave it at 10 for residents and make it 15 or 20 for non-residents to match up with the sort of the other non-resident rate portion.
Hang on one second.
And I'll read this back to you guys before you take a vote.
Oh, don't do that. I'd like to hear the motion with somebody trying to remember what we discussed.
All right. So Saul, based on what you just requested, that's what that would look like.
Yeah. Nope.
And have we gotten any, I mean, we've discussed this, I think this is the third meeting.
Yes.
Yes. Have
Yes.
we gotten any,
No.
any feedback or any, okay.
Not a word edgewise.
All right. Well, we need to agree on this tonight, so we at least beat
Mhm.
Major League Baseball into coming to an agreement. So, I mean, I think Saul's suggestion makes sense. It provides a little bit of a differential there. It provides a little bit more revenue.
I'm happy to make a motion if there's no other discussion.
I'm satisfied with no, in terms of my opinion. So that's, unless Saul or Aaron have anything they want to add.
No, I mean, I don't have a magic 8-ball, unfortunately, but
Wait, what do you want to know, Aaron? If we ask it everything, come on.
I mean, there's so many places to put all the money. It sounds like a lot more people are more fearful if we were to raise the rates any higher. I think it sounds like it would be more detriment than benefit. Is that an accurate feeling?
I don't know if that's necessarily true because the rates had been up higher in the past. I would say probably just about when I came in, would you say, Fred, that the commission decided to sort of slash and burn the prices to try to get people, to pay for the passes and get them, involved more. But that
Yeah.
kind of fired on us.
Yeah. I mean, when I moved to town, it was $10. That was it for the year for the parking spot. And then we ended up,
1905?
well, the steamship that went across the lake to get you to Colonial Drive. No, I mean, that was it. And then what happened was to clean the lake, and it was like $10 for a resident. It was a lot. Whatever it was $100 for non-resident or some absurd number. And then to get the grant to clean the lake, the requirement was we had to go to a certain percentage. So we had to up the town fees to about $40 or $50, which back then was unheard of, and slash the non-resident. And then all hell broke loose once we started having to fund the lifeguards. And it was, there was no rhyme. I mean, you just had to charge what you had to charge. I don't think that there's a real impact on like marginal passes based on an increase in the increase in the pass rate. And when you think about it, you look at what people are paying for daycare and everything else that they want to get down there with their kids. This is still pretty much a bargain. I mean, it's 80, so I don't think we're going to 85 is going to hurt it. I think, if we keep it under 100, you don't have that sticker shock. And I think that's probably the one impact you would have is jumping from 60 and going up 66%. People might react, but.
Yeah, I think it's like a very reasonable price for, like I said, it's $17 for the entire summer for if you've got 5 people in your house. So like, I think that's a more than reasonable rate for what we're providing down there, lifeguarded, safe, concession stand, boat rentals, like all the things that we're renting, I think, all the things that we're doing down there, I think it's well worth it. I mean, I would have no problem raising it to, the $100, but I know there would be sticker shock, like you said, Fred. And I know that, we'd be back to those contentious meetings with all the folks around the pond. So, I think the 85 is in the 150 is very reasonable.
I think too, and people are inclined to go elsewhere to, I'm going to go to the beach, I'm going to go somewhere else. The $4 plus gas prices is going to have an impact too on how far people are willing to travel, and this makes this a much more attractive and affordable option when you're driving for 5 minutes as opposed to 45 minutes. So
You want me to read it back to you, what we've got so far? I don't think it's anything different than what Tim's got up on there.
yeah, no, I think we're good. If anybody's got
Just
any-
one quick, do you need to have all of the, like, are the boat rentals and those sorts of things that need to be part of this? Do we need to approve that, or can you come up with other offerings and programs separate from this?
Well, the boat rentals are kind of part of the beach rates. So,
And my recommendation was we don't change them. We're right in line with what everybody else is charging for half hour.
Yeah, no, I think that's fine. My one thought would be some sort of seasonal access as opposed to the half hour kind of rental, but
What are you asking?
nothing
Exactly.
now. Let's think about it for later. But
So we can charge a storage fee, but we can't charge an access fee because it's a great pond. So we can't restrict access to the water.
no. I was thinking of like for instance, I have a membership at Community Boating, so I pay a membership to be able to use their boats throughout the year as opposed to paying individually each time I go down.
Oh yeah. Well, that's through the sailing program. We can talk about that separately. That's not something that we would need to pass through here.
Perfect.
But yes, we have thought about that in the past. The problem with that, just the real high level thing is I don't have people there after hours who are competent in sailing to help somebody who got in trouble on a particular sailboat. So if we could find someone to take those hours, like if you want to take those hours, then yes, we could offer something like that. That's the biggest drawback. But yes, I've always wanted to make that part of our sailing program.
Okay, so if we're going to get a motion, we want to cover all of these fees.
so I have them written down exactly as is. So if you want to say something to the fact as listed above in the minutes.
Do you want to share your screen and let them read it, Alicia?
Sure. See if I can do that. It's exactly what you've got though, honestly. Oh, it says it's disabled.
Hang on, because I just made you the co-host. You're good now.
So that's what I've got written in the minutes is exactly what Tim had up on his screen.
Well, I will make a motion to recommend to approve the 2022 beach rates as listed in the minutes of the meeting. Is that a good motion? I don't know.
It should be fine.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll go ahead and second that since I,
All right. We'll
You don't
vote on
have-
this before we think better. All in favor, Aaron,
Yes.
Saul,
yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
and I'm yes as well. So we have approved the beach rates for 2022.
Awesome. On to the next thing. Thank you, gentlemen.
And that brings us to Tim's special events update.
All right. So we are working on getting back into full swing with special events. As always, I'll just preface this by it's wonderful to see the park commissioners at the special events. So if everybody could just kind of pick one to, kind of show up to and be at, like the wonderful example that Mr. Morris said at Halloween. That was the last fun time that we got to hang out together.
I
So
will be
we
at
are,
every Oktoberfest.
there you go.
I pick
So-
Oktoberfest.
That's a lot of dedication, Kevin.
Thank you.
So we're going to be leading off with the egg hunt and candy scramble Saturday before Easter. We will do that at 300 King Park from 10 to 11. That one is over in a flash. If you blink, you miss all the eggs and all the candy. So arrive early if you're coming to that one. We are in the process of currently working with DPW, Chris Stoddard, Steve Witten, to figure out what the opportunity is to host a townwide cleanup. The big option here is the cost of the trash. One of the hot button issues right now is the fact that bags are going up and trash is going and recycling. So the ability for us to get a dumpster is kind of in question right now. So that is kind of on hold, but if we do it, it will be April 23rd from 8 to noon, and we'll hopefully do it townwide as we did in the past. Third Thursday will be coming back in May. We will have our normal band, food truck, businesses. The first third Thursday, we do ask all of our commercial vendors for Park and Rec to come and promote their summer programming. That will take place May 19th from 5 to 7:30 at Fay Park. The bike rodeo and family safety day is a new thing that we're going to try to put in play with the public safety departments of fire and the police department. We will be utilizing the bike rodeo format that's put forth by Tufts and their pediatric medicine. So they have a whole format put together. Basically, we try to get bike inspections done, get kids helmets who don't have helmets, and then we have different stations set up for them to go through and basically kind of get a report card or score on trying to do that. Originally, we posed this for 300 King. The deputy chief of police came back and proposed a better location, just spread out more. So I believe we will be hosting this at one of the elementary schools instead of 300 King. June 16th is third Thursday once again. So we'll be rolling through that. I guess we're stopping at that amount of special events. We also have August third Thursday. And then we have Oktoberfest on October 1st. September 17th, it's not on here, I'm kind of spitting off my head right now, is Touch Truck. Hopefully we'll be doing that somewhere like Light and Water or a large space again like that. But that is what we have on the docket as of now. Any questions or anything that anybody else wants to see? Yes, Alicia.
Is Santa visiting in July?
Oh, yeah. Santa will be visiting in July. He's going to come in via the fireboat on Sunday, July 24th and come across Long Lake. I'm still waiting to see if we are going to be able to work with the police department. Typically, they do an ice cream sandwich giveaway day. So we're going to try to tie everything together, have Santa come visit, have the PD give out ice cream, and that will be Christmas in July on the 24th. And then he is supposed to also be making a visit to Camp T the next day. So we're going to keep him in Littleton overnight.
Nice.
All right. Any questions
I
about
assume there's-
special events?
Third Thursday in July also, or
Yeah, did I skip July? Yeah.
Yeah.
May, June, July, August. Those will be all the third Thursdays. If anybody knows of any rockin' musicians or food trucks, waiting to fill those roles, so let me know. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Sorry, my computer keeps going back and forth between the full screen and half screen, so I'm trying to get it all worked out here. Okay, so let's go over the director's report. So there's a few more things that we're talking about this week or month than we have previously. We'll review the finances as we have before. There's an update on the old library. A few reminders about town meeting, and then excuse me, there's open spots on the park commission that we'll talk about in a bit, and returning to hybrid or in-person meetings and the Mrpa state conference. So Tim, if you want to switch over to our finances. So we're doing really fantastic. This year, or this, if you can see on the chart that we have from MyRec, that we're pretty much back-to-back months making the same amount of money, which has been really great to have that steady income. So this month we have brought in a net of 24,000 and some change. So that has been, another excellent month that we've had. Any questions on month stuff? No? Okay. Switch over to, there we go. All right, so year to date, we've gone up, which is, again, awesome. So currently, year to date, this was at the end of February, we were at 272,000. So, as we go along towards the end of the fiscal year, which ends in June 30th, on June 30th, we're still looking really good to be able to make sure that we cover everything that's needed for our fiscal year. So looking good. All right. And then this was just one that you guys had asked for previous months. So just a program year to date. So some of the numbers are going to look a little bit funny because remember, fiscal year goes July 1 all the way through June 30th. So we have money in Camp T from July and August of last year. So we're making June now. So those numbers are going to be a little bit higher for Camp T at this moment. So yeah, again, we're looking really good in all of our programs. The staff has been doing an amazing job of advertising all of the programs, and people are steadily registering for programs. That's great. Any questions on any finances?
No.
Okay, so old library update. All right, this is great news. So we have the approval from the town administrator's office to be able to renovate the third floor and turn it into a teen center. And we can open that as soon as we have completed that work. So the reality is all we're really looking to do is remove the items that are in there currently. And there will be a cleanup this Friday. So if anybody has time, they can help clean out the library so that we can get a painter in there to paint all the walls. Then we have to just put in some TVs and some furnitures, and then we should be pretty good to go. There's not a whole lot of renovation that needs to happen on that top floor. It's pretty good as it is. And then the ultimate goal is that we would renovate the second floor over the summer with the intention to be able to move the entire department over to that second floor in September. So that's kind of the timeline that we're looking at. One of the things we'll get to in a moment here is, asking for funds to be able to do that renovation on the second floor at town meeting. So that's something, we're discussing that with finance and town administrator's office.
When are you doing that moving on Friday?
Tim, do you know the actual time?
So currently, Katrina Hagberg is working with both the LHS students and the library board of trustees to figure out when we can get volunteers, and the target would be to start at 2:30.
Okay.
But if anybody knows of any volunteers, just send them my way.
Yeah, because the high school kids are always eager to do lots of additional work.
Absolutely love it.
Yep. Send them our way.
I even offered to pay some of my beach staff to come do it, and I got crickets.
Just, and you didn't hear this from me, but Haley's on spring break this week. So if you want to try and guilt her into coming by, feel free.
You might want to pass it on to her.
Yeah, that will be met with a resounding no if it comes from me. But if somebody whose initials might be JK were to reach out and say, hey, we could use your help. Just a suggestion.
Okay. Duly noted. All right. Any other questions about the library and us moving out of our current space in town hall and moving over to that space?
Real quick, where's the access going to be from?
It'll still be the same. So the main entry will be on the front side of the building.
Okay.
And then we're still trying to work it out with the building department, but their hours may be different from our hours, but there will more than likely be access from the back of the building as well. We just have to kind of work out what that's going to look like, and if there is a specific time frame that we have that area of access in the back open.
There's also the elevator goes up as well, right?
That's correct. Yep. But if we're doing like a big program, we're going to have people go up the stairs instead of the elevator. Can't cram too many. Come on, Camp T, everybody get in the elevator. That won't work. I know
4 hours later, everybody out of the elevator.
All right. So we can move over to the town meeting update. So please get out your calendars and mark this down. So the town meeting itself will be taking place on May 2nd, which is a Monday evening. Usually they are Mondays. So please plan on being there. That would be excellent for supporting the department. Just going through a few deadlines. So March 17th, which is fast approaching, is the last day that we can put articles into the spring town meeting warrant. And April 5th, the warrant does go out to the printer. So essentially, we need to have everything fixed and organized well before that April 5th date, because it gets hard to be able to push that date back or add things in at the last minute. So we're really trying to shoot for, that May 17th, trying to have everything pretty, close to being finished with that. It's just easier for all parties involved. Then I just wanted to kind of put the preliminary list of anticipated warrant articles. So the ones that are going to be most crucial to our department would be Article 4, which is going to be the Community Preservation Act. So funds on that one. So that's where, at this point in time, I think the only one that we would really see is going to be the open space and recreation plan. But we will see. But that's still a very important report that we do need to have. So hopefully that will pass. The operating budgets. So the creation of our new revolving fund, that will happen in Article 6. So that's a very important piece as well. And then Alicia will go into the finance stuff more on Thursday night. Unfortunately, she couldn't come tonight. So we do have her coming in on Thursday to go through all of the finances with you for you to ask any questions that you might have, whether it's about the enterprise fund or our revolving or general funds. So we will have, the revolving created, and then we're also going to keep the enterprise open because if we do make the vote to close the enterprise, we would lose any money that's in there. So we will keep the enterprise open for us to use as we go into the next fiscal year. Capital items, we do have a few requests on there. Tonight, it sounds like they're having that discussion on what will be covered in capital or not. So that's where Alicia is at that meeting. It's a joint meeting with FinCom and with the select board. Let's see. The community preservation budget, and then personal bylaw amendments. Looks like they're going to update the 23 compensation grid, potentially. So the other things that are on here, which we'll get into a little bit later tonight, is a feasibility study for a tennis court that has been asked to be created from the town administrator's office, and also we have to reword the request that we had for capital funds in 2019 and 2020. And that would be around just under $20,000. So we would have to rewrite what that those articles say, so that we could use them for that library space conversion. So Alicia's helping us, town solicitor as well, are helping us do that. So we will have those updated, and as soon as we get the new ones, I'll make sure that you guys can take a look at it and see if you have any questions. Okay. Anything else? No, I got it all. Okay. Any questions?
Nope.
A lot coming up. All right. So sadly, we're going to be losing Fred and Mike. They've decided not to run for the commission spots. So we do have 2 seats that will be open for the May election. So we've kind of talked to a few people. We haven't really had anybody that's, run out and got the papers to get signatures. So if you all have any suggestions, or, if anyone's interested, they can get in touch with myself or the town clerk. And, we can kind of walk through that process. But it would be very important to have those positions filled. Otherwise, having a quorum is going to be a problem. There's other things that become more difficult to do if it's only a group of 3. So, like I said, if you have any ideas, or if anyone's interested, please reach out, and hopefully we can get that set up.
I think the deadline for submitting is the 18th, I think.
Of March?
Yeah.
Okay, so then if we don't have it by then it would have to be an appointment.
Or a write-in.
Or write-ins, yeah.
Or write-in, yep. Okay, any questions about any of that? Okay.
We just write Fred back in if nobody signs up.
That was my plan.
A wonderful idea, Aaron.
Just
Wonderful idea.
a brief story from the assessors was Lynn Masson, who was the chief assessor in Concord, who lived here in town, ran as a write-in. She didn't really run, but somebody wrote her in. She got 7 votes and won. And I called her and to tell her, and I said, Lynn, congratulations. And there was just dead silence. And finally, you're kidding me. And so it doesn't take much. So conversely, you need to be aware of, people doing it as a joke, and then you get somebody on the commission that doesn't really want to be there. So you do have to be a little bit careful. If I stay another year, the income I'll have made from being on this commission so long will put me in another tax bracket, which is why I can't run. So,
So not true.
I'm sure there's a huge, I forget what the word is now, but I'm sure I'll be getting a giant check for all my years of service. But
You do realize
I can tell you exactly what you're getting. It's not a check.
yeah, believe me, Tim, I've gotten that a number of times, so we're all set.
We'll give you a firm handshake and a pat on the back, and
It
see you up.
fits in this box right here.
So, all right. Where are we?
Moving on.
Do we need to discuss going back to hybrid or staying
Yeah.
hybrid or going to in person?
So Tim and I were talking about this, and I think we both feel that if we were able to return in person or have hybrid, if we want to allow the public to be able to interact through Zoom, it just would help a lot. I think there's a lot less distractions, and in general, I think we do accomplish a lot more when we're there in person. So the Littleton Police Department community room is available for every second Tuesday of the month. So if you are all in agreement that we can come back and meet in person, we can start that up in April.
All right, just to further the discussion a little bit, this would actually, if we stayed remote one more month, it would allow Saul and Aaron to have never actually had to have met me in person. So there is that benefit. Like, hey, we escaped that. So bear that in mind. I mean, does anybody have any feelings one way or the other? I'm fine with us going to in person next month, but
Yeah, I'm fine with going in person if that's the pleasure of the board.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to. I guess I would put it as let's try to be in person, but if it means having 4 people and somebody who's hybrid, I think that's better than having 3. I know that my schedule is a lot weirder now than it was when I started this, so there may be days when I'm not in Littleton on a Tuesday, but could still attend remotely if that was an option.
I'll have to double check on that, but I can't. I don't think that there's anything that says against that, but I want to double check.
Yeah, I think at least for the extension part of the whatever the permit is. Yeah, I think it's still okay. So, but yeah, I think having a live meeting would be good.
Bring it on.
Aaron?
Yeah,
Okay.
right down the street.
All right.
Aaron, we can carpool.
Hooray.
Do we need to vote on this, or is
You
just
don't
like-
have to, no,
Okay.
you don't have to vote, but I just wanted to run it by you all and see how you were feeling about it. We could have a non-interest, so I think that's something that's good that we're talking about it rather than just being like, we're going to go back,
All right, sounds good.
All right. So the last thing is in 2 weeks' time, we will have the state conference. So for MRPA, so Massachusetts Parks Association, Tim, myself, and Brent, Sam, and Kaz will all be attending that conference. So there will be 5 of us out of the office, which means that Abby will be there as the sole person for the 22nd and the 23rd. So essentially, we're just looking at those 2 days. Our senior tax worker has said that they can cover the 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. slot. So theoretically, we can keep the hours as they are. But I just wanted to bring this up in case we need to amend those office hours if somebody gets sick or who knows what could happen. But I'd rather, have you all know about it and be, if you are okay with us amending those office hours, should that emergency need arise. Any thoughts?
Sounds reasonable.
Yep.
So that's one, because we're amending hours, you would need to take a vote on that.
All right, I'll make a motion to amend the office hours as necessary for attendance of the MRPA meeting March 22nd and 23rd.
Will second that.
All right, all in favor, Aaron,
Yes.
Saul,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yep.
and I'm yes as well.
Joke.
Kevin, this is your official shakedown. You haven't registered yet. Katie told me to tell you.
Well, please don't even get me started, Tim. Don't even get me started.
Just so everybody else is aware, though, commissioners are able to attend this conference every single year as park commissioners. So if anybody wants more information, let me know for the future. I'm actually in charge of planning the 2023 conference, and we will have a couple sessions specifically geared towards commissioners. So hopefully you guys can join us next year in Norwell.
Where is this one?
Falmouth.
Norwell.
Falmouth
Can't get
is
there from.
Falmouth is
Norwood.
beautiful this time of year. It's a wonderful place to have a park and recreation conference in the middle of winter.
End of March is
It's cold.
It's always been,
springtime on the Cape. Yeah, it's
it's
gonna be
always
cold,
been brutally
cold and
cold
windy.
with like 60-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah. All right. So this one, I just want to bring this up for discussion. So it sounds like the town is going to be moving forward with a senior center. So I think one of the projected options is that it be built on the tennis courts at Town Hall. So I have been asked by the town administrator to determine a cost estimate for a feasibility study to put tennis and pickleball courts like a facility at the Cooper Farm parcel. So this concept is not currently on our capital plan, town master plan, or open space and recreation plan. So I just wanted to throw it out to the commission and see what you all are thinking. Is this something that you would support, or, if you have any concerns about it, let me know.
And does that last sentence mean they're looking to get the construction costs for these courts out of the CPC?
That is my understanding at this time. Yes.
Right,
So
right.
those
Ideally,
I was just saying, so ideally those are funds that we have not touched because we were attempting to create a new field creation, which has been on our master plan. So yeah.
Who would be, I realize they want us to approve or want you to figure out the feasibility of the costs, but in terms of deciding which item would take priority, who's that come down to?
What do you mean? Whether
Well, in
it's
other words, you get the feasibility study done and it comes out with it's going to cost X amount of dollars. Is there going to then be pressure to build the tennis and pickleball court rather than new fields?
probably,
Well, the proposed location is part of the issue too. Is it's not only the money piece, which if the town is using tennis courts, they should pay to replace said tennis courts, not necessarily the rec department, but they're also taking one of the most viable pieces of open space that we currently have.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my feeling would be if we're looking at a feasibility study for tennis and pickleball courts, I don't know that I would want to limit it to the Cooper Farm parcel.
okay.
Great.
Their spots.
Yeah, right, and I also don't know. I mean, how many courts are we talking about? And does that, in comparison to the size of the parcel and the size of fields or whatever else might be potentially there,
I mean, so I guess if we used all of the money that was in CPC, you could probably get like 4 tennis courts and 4 pickleball courts plus parking. It's possible, but who knows what the costs are going to be moving forward.
yeah, I have seen. It'd be worth looking at There were some significant grants for pickleball courts.
Yes, you're correct. So USTA and Playcore have a pretty good grant, but it's associated with you get a certain amount of money per court. Not
Right.
like, hey, here's
Yeah.
$250,000. Go. There is a calculation to figure out what you would actually be applicable for.
And I think those have to be dedicated pickleball courts, or no?
Not necessarily. So this is one of the really fascinating things that's happening right now. USTA and Playcore, they are working together to develop and give designs for these, we'll call them symbiotic facilities, where it has both. Usually they're separated from each other. I know that there's been issues with noise with pickleball in the past. So they try to keep some distance between the two areas, but they're actually doing that for free. So I have been in communication with the representative from USTA, and we're starting that process to get an idea of what design would look like.
Do we know, did the tennis courts go in on the new place on King Street?
Is it Webster?
Yeah, whatever that is.
So I believe they were supposed to put in 4 and they only put in 2.
Where is that?
So
Right next to the high school.
right in front. So do you know where, trying to think of
The music place.
Right next to Indian Hill.
Yeah,
I know. I know exactly where they are. Okay.
you got it.
I
So
mean,
if you go all the way to the back of that development, they're back there.
Who's paying for this Sorry, Tim.
No, you're fine.
Who's paying for this feasibility study?
So it sounds like the feasibility study, they would put in an article at town meeting to ask for funding. So it would be funded through, I guess, general funds, somewhere in there. That would not be coming out of our pocket to start.
All right.
What about, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, from one of the things to look at, rather than Cooper Farm and from a recreation standpoint and, talking to the school department and just to kind of advise the board, one of the things that the school department has been looking at for years, and why the Weber property, just to jump in here since it was mentioned, was so nice, was they were going to have 4 courts together. That, in my opinion, one of the easiest ways out of this is, if Light and Water is going to be tearing up the high school fields, build the 4 tennis courts together up there by field 1, find a way to make that work behind the high school, and convert the 2 courts next to each other into our 4 pickleball courts that are currently at the high school. And that kind of meets all the needs without using any property. And, in theory, you're only paying the resurface and reline the current high school courts. And it kind of puts everything in one spot too. So, I think that would be a better option than trying to figure out how to build this at Cooper Farm, in looking at this for the past week. And it meets the needs of the high school teams.
And so I know Indian Hill is moving out of that location. Wasn't there talk about the town taking that property?
There's always talk about everything, Kevin.
Yeah.
That was one thing that was brought up, was, we were told that was a possible place to have a recreation center when that moved out. Yes, Kevin, you're accurate in that statement.
Real
And it's
quick.
also been offered up to seniors as well. So it's that one card that who knows.
How big is that space over at Cooper Farm?
I should have had all that stuff ready to go.
Wait, I'm looking at it now. It's the one on the left side. It's to the right. It's the one where the house has a big chunk of it taken out, right?
No, it's across the way.
Okay, so we're on the other side. We're on the side not where the house is.
By the leach field, because when they originally built the leach field, it wasn't supposed to be that large.
Okay, so that's like a 4-acre site, right?
I don't know the total amount.
I'm looking at it because I think the leach field is its own parcel, and then the parcel they gave us is about 4 acres, but it's really unlevel. So now the other spot I was thinking of where there's land, I mean, I'm not quite sure where the town administrator impacts our master plan and why we should necessarily agree to taking money that's part of what we've thought about, but that's a whole nother story. Is over by the track, because we do have that land back there.
So the issue with that, though, is access. That's something that we had considered in the past for dog parks. And I've met with representatives from the trustees, and they're okay with people walking through Conant Park, which is part of the trustees system, but they're not okay with additional parking. That would leave us with trying to get additional parking at the school, which there's not really anything back there.
But that's those places. That's a facility that's pretty much going to be used off school hours, correct? Now, granted, when there's track meets and stuff like that. No?
I mean, we just set our pickleball for the whole summer. You're talking every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday from 9 to noon.
Okay.
So Fred, you are right. I'm looking at the assessor's map right now. So it's 4.38 acres.
Okay, so it is that whole parcel there.
Yes, correct. So it's 5-25.
And just to be honest, I was looking at the map too. I did not know that acreage off the top of my head. So
does it right underneath the 5-25, my friend?
Do they talk timeline? Like, are they looking to sort of get this going soon, or?
Like I said, just kind of thrown onto the plate of let's get a feasibility study, and we want a cost estimate before town meeting.
Oof.
Oh, the one in May
for a feasibility study. Yes.
A cost for the feasibility study,
Yes.
or a cost for the
For the feasibility study.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So just to give you guys an idea of the ballpark, you're talking $15,000 to $25,000 for this particular one.
But aren't we, I mean, we're also doing all of the other space planning that this would fit into, right? I mean, that's coming up at the same time.
Yep.
Highway set the stakes today for the drilling test for putting the senior center up on the tennis courts today.
And
mean,
there was a request to drill a hole in the center of the tennis court. Am I correct in that?
So have they gave up on the slope side, or I guess I haven't followed that recently, that because last I saw it was on the slope.
You all know as much as I do, so I would definitely suggest reaching out and starting some conversations, because I have no idea.
That's not a big piece of land there. That's going to be I don't know.
Tennis court.
Yeah.
It was something they had looked at that site previously for the library.
Yeah.
But we had told them that if you want to do that, you just have to find a new place and build us one, and then, go ahead and have at it. But yeah.
So where was the request to drill from? That was from.
That I'm not entirely certain. I know. So that was just kind of news to me that they started drilling those holes for.
No, they didn't. They just set the stakes.
Set the stakes. Yeah.
All right, let me ask this: is they're going to do this feasibility study, and then who's going to decide it's being built? The selectmen and town administrators?
I guess so.
So at what point? I'm a bit confused as to how they're going to take money out of our CPC budget with their project, which hasn't been on the master plan and hasn't been on anybody's radar. And now they're going to decide that this is how they go. I mean, this is unfortunately how a lot of things happen in this town, is somebody decides they've got this need and we go forward, and master plan be damned. Does that sound about where we're at? And I don't
So
mean
we'll
to
make
put you on this.
one clarification to that. The CPC bucket for recreation, just to quote our previous town administrator, Keith Bergman, it's not our money.
No, I understand that.
So, yes, if somebody wants to do a recreation project like this, they could ask for that. Yeah.
Okay, and I mean, it would seem to me that if it's detrimental to us gaining a new field, particularly with us losing the high school, correct? For the time, for at least for not that this would come online before, but I mean, we probably should. There's got to be other stakeholders in this that would prefer to see a field built over at Cooper Farm rather than tennis courts and a pickleball court, correct?
I would agree with you that there are stakeholders that should be communicated with. Yes.
Okay. All right.
I mean, it goes back to, every conversation we've had, it's, what if we don't get St. Anne's, right? What if the high school fields go offline? There's so many projects, and it's not just fields, right? We've talked about doing fields. We've talked about putting lights on fields. We've talked about doing a center for everyone in order to achieve our goals. We've talked about, putting in playgrounds and revitalizing Fay Park and fitness courses and all of these things. And it just, from a department standpoint, it's constantly, well, no, we can't do that, but we're going to do this. Like there's no follow through on the mission. And I think that was where, in letting everybody know this, we have the capital plan, we have the master plan, we have the open space and recreation plan. No one ever seems to put anything behind like the recreation plan. There's no follow through on that. And that's, ultimately what, this board, Park and Rec board, you guys have that political power
Yes.
to, talk about those things. And that's the ask right now. Why are we overlooking these things to put this at the front of the line? And, when are we going to achieve some of these goals?
Yes.
I mean, I find it hard to see how, with the limited space and the limited areas we have to actually build or add to the field part of it. I understand what you're saying, Tim, but more specifically, we need fields. We've got how many more houses and how many more residents and how many more kids in town. And we're going to need fields, and to take away one possible place of expansion to build something that's going to have a much more limited use and constituency just doesn't make sense. But unfortunately, that's how things go here.
But you do have some power to communicate those concerns.
So I guess are you asking for any direction from us on this, or are you just letting us know this is what's happening?
I am bringing it to your attention and allowing you to ask questions, and I can answer the best that I possibly can. But in some of these situations, politically, I have to stay out of things.
And just to further, Alicia, you're wrong. We have the opportunity to speak up, and the number of times that people pay any attention to anything we say is minimal, because there's agendas in this community which are individual agendas or small group agendas that seem to have more weight than people trying to look forward to the overall growth of the community. I'm just going to leave it at that.
However, as a representative of the Park Commission, you still need to try.
No, absolutely.
So this is not something you need us to vote on, whether we want it or not. You're just letting us know this is what they want.
I mean, at some point, there will be a vote that, whether you support this project or not, that will come down the pipeline. But, there's things that you can do at this time to kind of see where we get with that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to the degree possible, my suggestion or request would be that the feasibility study, whatever estimate we put together, is not limited to the Cooper Farm parcel.
So that's something, if you want to take a vote that you agree on that, then that's something I can bring back and say that, that the Park Commission is asking that you include this.
Well, how about then if we were to vote on supporting the feasibility study, but that it look at the feasibility of putting them somewhere within the town, not necessarily at the Cooper Farm parcel?
I think before we get into that realm, it may be more beneficial to have a sit-down conversation with parties before we get there.
Yeah, I guess I'd also like to understand more what has changed with the senior center planning, because that certainly hasn't been well publicized. If anything has changed dramatically, and it sounds like it may have. So,
yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know that it needs a vote necessarily, or maybe we try and get a meeting and figure out what's going on, because it's a little confusing that out of nowhere. Yeah, there's been a fair amount of discussion around the senior center being on the slope, a lot of publicity about that, and sounds like something has changed without much notice, or any notice as far as I could tell.
All right.
I mean, either way, the feasibility study is going to happen, right? I mean, they're asking for the determine the cost, and it's going to happen through the general fund. So I think that's going to happen. I don't think they're asking us for anything, are they?
They're not. I'm bringing this to your attention. My suggestions were that we do the statistically valid survey, and that we ask in that if this is a facility that people are wanting. And then that way we would have an understanding if we, should move forward with a feasibility study. Because I just personally feel like we've done a lot of these studies and they're constantly, well, they weren't good enough, or that didn't really give us the answer that we wanted, or, there's always some excuse that we just kind of throw it in the trash. So as a resident, I don't want to be spending all of this extra funds on stuff that could be used for something more important.
Yeah, I guess, that's my other issue is, and I guess, we'd vote on it at town meeting, but we're putting together a bunch of other planning documents and studies. It seems redundant to do this one separate. I guess it's more at the engineering end than the planning end, but it's kind of, cart before the horse.
Well, I think the biggest thing is, in doing a feasibility study, the reality is it is feasible that we need these 2 courts, because if they go away, we need to replace them somewhere with something, right? And ideally, you don't want to just replace 2 courts and put them somewhere random. And that's why I had said, the reality is if we put them at the high school, because the high school teams are the ones coming over here to play tennis anyway, and then you have residents playing on the shoulder end. So I think feasibly, if the courts go away, they have to be put somewhere else. And ultimately, that question has to be answered in order to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Agreed.
The Cooper parcel just seems so far out of the sort of, town center, or sort of like the epicenter of town with the schools and the library and town hall. Just seems so far afield that I think they would go less used.
Well, and that's, sorry, Sal, go ahead.
And I can't imagine the Cooper Farm people being terribly excited about it either, but.
Well, the people there were aware that that parcel was going to be dedicated to some sort of active recreation.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
But I do believe, just as Tim had mentioned, the schools are a stakeholder in this, because, if they're using, they're going to have to transport the kids to get from one place to the other. So, do you try to do that and work with them and have it on site for them and be able to save some money in that aspect? Or, do you, cart them across town?
Is there, I also wonder if there's space for 2 more courts. If there was originally planned for 4 at Webster or whatever that was called, is there space there for 2 more and they just didn't get built because somebody else was responsible for paying for them?
I don't know anything behind that dealing. That's like.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
But that's another place. If they laid that out with 4 courts in mind, there may be space there. It's right next to the high school. You can walk back and forth.
Is it cheaper just to build the extra 2 courts, have your 4 courts, and then put the ball where the 2? Yep.
Well,
Exactly. And that's the feasibility piece of it, right? If you look at all the options and not just consider one, what's most feasible?
The other thing that this begs the question of is, if we do the feasibility study strictly for the Cooper Farm parcel, that, to the exclusion of any place else, gives the impression that that's the best location for them. And it doesn't make sense, because it may be that there is space available somewhere else where you could put them in, and it might be more financially feasible, and it might make more sense, and it would be easier for the schools. So I don't know, I guess
I would concur that, I think, not only having a conversation from the board members to powers that be, but, maybe the board or us reach out to the powers of the school to see if there's any ideas that places that they would want to put it.
Okay, so what do we want to do? Do we want to get a meeting arranged with the people that think this has to be done right away for some reason, and to the I'm just going to leave it at that.
I think that makes sense. Probably, maybe a couple of us as opposed to the whole board. I don't think we need everybody, but
Two.
two, right?
Well, no, you don't want more than two, because then we
No,
have
I
to-
know.
I know you know. I don't know why.
So
I said
yeah,
that.
so two of us to have a meeting to understand the current situation and provide our feedback that if those tennis courts are going away, yeah, we think there needs to be other tennis courts somewhere, but a broader view is probably appropriate.
Yep.
I can set that up for you if you want.
And that was well put, Saul.
I would be happy to.
It sounds like you have a very moderate approach to this. I don't know that I could.
Here you go, Fred, your final act.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that's exactly what you want or you're looking for.
Hey, good cop, bad cop routine. That's a. So yeah, I'm happy to, Delicious, if you can set something up. And I don't know if anybody else wants to join in or.
So I'll jump in with you on that.
Okay.
All right. I will follow up with you guys later then. So the last thing I put on here, Lori Brial had called the office. We do have the memorial swing. It's not built yet, but she was asking if we could try to make to have it installed before April 10th, because that would have been Mackenzie's second birthday. I said, it's all kind of based on weather, so we will try the best that we possibly can. But I just wanted to kind of to let you know that this is something that we're trying to accomplish. I'm not 100% sure if we can, but we very much would like to be able to do that for the family if we can.
Right. I put that on my calendar for that day, but if you can keep me updated, I'll try to make sure at least I go.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll just have to see, because honestly, it really depends on the weather. We've had some really rough March and April stuff in the past, and we'll see what comes our way. Okay. Anything else? That was just kind of more of an update than anything. 'Tis that time. This was an awesome, just throw this out there. We had an archery half-day program. So this was the group that just went. It's an indoor, kind of like a Nerf archery place. The kids had an absolute blast. So that was one of the programs that was put on by Sam, one of our program coordinators, and you can see Kaz is in there. They had an amazing time. It was a lot of fun.
This is like archery paintball or target?
Yeah.
Okay.
No paint though, but it's kind of like
just
marshmallows on the end of the arrows. Yeah.
Excellent.
They do birthday parties, so the girls would love it. They also do league nights. They do all sorts of fun stuff. But yeah, it's a pretty cool place.
Very good.
I figured it'd be fun to throw something in there that's new you guys haven't seen yet. Okay. All right.
Right.
So
Do we have a
it is
motion to
that
adjourn?
I will motion to adjourn.
I will second that motion to adjourn.
All in favor, Aaron,
Yes.
Saul,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yep.
and I'm Ace as well. We are adjourned. Do we